camping is just one of the great ways to relax and step away from the world. With cozy campfires and the beautiful blue sky above, it is an experience many people eagerly await, thankful for the chance to enjoy nature's beauty and freedom. Sometimes, this beautiful experience can quickly turn into a nightmare. Unexpected dangers can turn what should be a peaceful camping trip into a very bad experience. In today's video, we are going to look into some of the most shocking camping deaths ever and find out how these perfect days ended in total tragedy for some. 2 15-year-old girls from Finland, Mila-Emeli Björklund and Anja Tuulikki-Mäki, decided to go camping with their 18-year-old boyfriends, Seppo Antero Boisman and Niels Wilhelm Gustafsson, sometime in June 1960. They picked a popular spot by Lake Bodom, a peaceful lake about 22 kilometers west of Helsinki, the capital city. This was a place known for much fun, and that was just what the group planned for. The group was excited about a fun camping trip, planning to spend their time in a single tent right by the beautiful lake. In the early hours of June 5, 1960, the 4 teenagers were camping peacefully and enjoying themselves on the shores of Lake Bodom. Their day had started well, with everyone enjoying nature and the calm lake, until suddenly, things took a sad turn later that night. The unexpected happened just between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. While they were still in their tent, Björklund, Mäki and Boisman were attacked, which resulted in serious injuries for the trio from being stabbed and beaten. Gustafsson, the only one who survived, was left with serious injuries, including a concussion, a broken jaw, and several fractures on the face. Around 6 a.m., a group of boys who were out to get a sight of the different birds that flew around the lake came across the scene. They saw the collapsed tent on the lakeshore, but didn't think much of it, and so continued on their way. They later mentioned seeing a blonde man walking away from the area. It wasn't until 11 a.m. that Risto Siren, a local carpenter, found the bodies. He quickly called the police, who arrived around noon. By then, the teenagers had been dead for over 6 hours. Inside the tent, they found the bodies of Mäki and Boisman. Björklund, Gustafsson's girlfriend, was discovered on top of the tent, partly undressed and lying beside Gustafsson. She had been badly injured, with signs of being stabbed even after her death. It looked like the attacker didn't need to enter the tent. The attacker had struck the teenagers from outside. The victims were stabbed with a knife, but there were also signs of another blunt object that was used on them, though it wasn't exactly clear what it was. Adding to the mystery, some strange items were also missing. The keys to the teenagers' motorcycles were gone, but the bikes were left behind. Gustafsson's shoes were missing too, but they were later found about half a mile away, along with some of his clothes. Gustafsson was the only one who survived the attack. When police questioned him, he could only describe a shadowy figure dressed in black with glowing red eyes that attacked them brutally. The newspapers criticized the police for mishandling the case. They didn't properly record their findings or secure the crime scene, which led to the area being contaminated. After the police left, curious onlookers and careless campers made a mess of the scene. The police brought in soldiers to search for the missing items, but this only made things worse, and most of the items were never recovered. The first person suspected of the murders was Carl Valdemar Gillström, known locally as Kioskman, because he ran a nearby shop. Another suspect, Hans Assmann, was of interest for many years. At the time, it was a rumor that he was a former KGB spy living near Lake Bodom. And who wouldn't be careful with spies? However, it wasn't until 44 years after the incident that the police finally arrested someone. The Lake Bodom case saw a major breakthrough sometime in March 2004. After almost 50 years, new DNA evidence led prosecutors to a suspect they believed had a motive. Technological advances in forensic science that weren't available in 1960 helped to support this new lead. The suspect turned out to be Gustafsson, the only survivor of the murders, who was then arrested and brought to trial. The police had long suspected Gustafsson and claimed they had evidence to back up their claim. They said that Gustafsson's shoes, which were found covered in the victim's blood and not his own, were worn by the killer during the attack. During the trial, the prosecution painted a story where Gustafsson, after getting drunk and being kicked out of the tent, fought with Boisman. They claimed Boisman won the fight, leaving Gustafsson with a broken jaw and facial bones. Angered, Gustafsson allegedly returned to the tent in a rage, killing his girlfriend and friends, then wounded himself and tampered with the crime scene to cover his tracks. Gustafsson's defense team argued against the prosecution's story, suggesting that if Gustafsson and Boisman had really fought, Gustafsson would have been too injured to commit the murders or to walk half a mile to hide his shoes. In October 2005, the court agreed with the defense and found Gustafsson not guilty of all charges. He was acquitted and later received €44,900 from the state of Finland for the mental distress caused by the lengthy legal process. Despite this, the case remains a mystery. No new suspects have emerged, and no additional evidence has been found, leaving the Lake Bottom murders as Finland's most notorious and unresolved camping crime. Azaria Chantel Lauren Chamberlain was born on June 11, 1980. Her family was camping at Ayers Rock, now known as Uluru, in the Northern Territory. Azaria went missing from the family tent when she was just 9 weeks old. Her parents, Lindy and Michael Chamberlain, said a dingo had taken her. 3 people also reported hearing Azaria's cries the night she vanished from the family's campsite at Uluru. Lindy Chamberlain also said she saw a dingo coming out of the tent, and dingo tracks were found around and inside the tent. Large amounts of blood from Azaria were found on the tent mattress, on other items, near the carry basket where she had been sleeping, and next to the dingo tracks. After the alarm was raised, Aboriginal and white trackers followed the dingo prints until they mixed with human shoe prints on the road. They discovered drag marks in the sand and 2 shallow spots where something had been placed, likely while the dingo rested. These spots showed the imprint of a knitted garment, and there were tiny dark patches nearby, which they suspected to be blood. An investigation was conducted to find out what had happened because of the unusual and suspicious circumstances surrounding the event. This investigation ran from December 15, 1980 to February 20, 1981, and was just the first of several investigations into Azaria's death. The investigator, Dennis Barrett, concluded that it was a dingo that snatched and caused Azaria's death. The Chamberlains were found not to be involved in their child's disappearance. Soon enough, rumors started to spread, partly started by some members of the media and police. Although the first inquest concluded that Azaria had been attacked by a dingo and criticized the police for their poor work, some officers were reportedly opposed to accepting the dingo theory. They believed their evidence against the Chamberlains was more reliable. Feeling attacked by the coroner's findings, some decided to set things right in their view. 8 months later, a nationwide operation called Operation Ochre was launched, during which police searched the Chamberlains' home and seized many items. At the same time, all eyewitnesses were visited by police who asked for statements. It soon became clear what their focus was. When eyewitnesses described what they had seen or heard, police told them they did not want to hear about a dingo and insisted it was a murder investigation. The first inquest findings were thrown away, and the second inquest did not make a finding, but out of nowhere decided that the Chamberlains should stand trial. Afterwards, Lindy Chamberlain was charged with murder, while Michael Chamberlain was charged as an accessory to murder. With Judge Justice Muirhead and a jury presiding over their trial, it began on February 13, 1982, in Darwin. The media heavily covered the trial, mostly in a negative light towards the Chamberlains. One of the most shocking claims during the trial was that dingoes do not attack humans. The prosecutor, Ian Barker QC, reportedly dismissed the evidence of the drag marks as a red herring and focused instead on the bloodstains found in the family's car. The jury held both parents guilty on October 29, 1982. Lindy Chamberlain was convicted of murdering her baby, based on the idea that she had cut Azaria's throat in the family car and hid the body in a camera case. The evidence included a blood-stained jumpsuit found near the site where she went missing and a forensic report suggesting fetal hemoglobin. Lindy Chamberlain was sentenced to life in prison on October 19, 1982, while Michael Chamberlain received an 18-month jail sentence, which was later suspended because their children, Aidan and Reagan, needed a parent to care for them. The Chamberlains made several unsuccessful appeals, including a final one to the High Court. A breakthrough finally came in 1986. Azaria's jacket was found in an area with many dingo lairs, which led to Lindy's release from prison. On September 15, 1988, the Northern Territory Court of Criminal Appeals threw away all convictions against Lindy and Michael. A third investigation in 1995 resulted in an open finding. At a fourth inquest on June 12, 2012, Coroner Elizabeth Morris concluded that a dingo had taken Azaria and caused her death. After her release, Lindy was compensated with $1.3 million for false imprisonment, and an amended death certificate was issued. Trevor Holminski, a 20-year-old who had a deep love for the outdoors, was so passionate about nature. His documentary, A Blue Crow, showcased his wilderness survival skills. Just as he was about to join the Marines, Trevor wanted an adventure for the final time, so he planned a camping trip with his friend, Sheldon Stewart, in August 2015. They both went to Bucks Lake in Northern California, excited for days of hiking and exploring. Trevor's mother, Allison, remembered how happy he was about the trip, completely ignorant of the tragedy that was about to happen. Trevor and Sheldon set up camp at Bucks Lake and enjoyed the beautiful views the place offered. However, as night came, their behavior became totally strange after taking LSD and marijuana. The events of that night would go on to have a devastating effect, leading to a sad outcome that shocked the community. As the night went on, Trevor and Sheldon's attitude became increasingly crazy. They went around the campsite with their senses dulled by the drugs they had taken. The exact details of what happened that night are not exactly clear, but it's clear there was some kind of fight. Sheldon later claimed that Trevor had attacked him, but the evidence suggested something much more complicated. In the early morning of August 22, 2015, firefighters who were attending to a bushfire at Bucks Lake discovered something scary. While trying to calm the fire, they found Sheldon stabbed with multiple wounds on his neck. Nearby, a burned body was found in the campfire pit, with smoke still rising from the remains. The investigation had just started, but it was evident that something tragic and sinister had occurred at Bucks Lake. As detectives started questioning Sheldon, he told them a scary story about what had happened the night before. However, as they continued to investigate, they found a lot of inconsistencies in his story, leading them to uncover the truth. As the investigation progressed, detectives realized that the burned body in the campfire pit was actually Trevor's. The autopsy revealed he had been stabbed multiple times before being set on fire. With this new evidence, Sheldon's story began to appear stupid, and he soon became the main suspect in Trevor's murder. Detectives continued questioning Sheldon, but his alibi made no sense. He had said Trevor attacked him, but the evidence told a different story. The wounds on Sheldon's neck looked like they were self-inflicted, and the knife used to kill Trevor was later found buried near the campsite, together with Trevor's wallet and ID. As the evidence continued to increase, Sheldon's story began to change. With the case against him growing stronger, Sheldon was charged with Trevor's murder. During the trial, Sheldon claimed that Trevor had made unwanted romantic advances, which he rejected, and that led to a serious fight. The prosecution, however, wasn't going to have any of Sheldon's story, arguing that his story was not consistent and hard to believe. The prosecutor mentioned that Stewart's lawyers argued he was under the influence of LSD and had only acted in self-defense. However, the prosecutor believed the evidence showed otherwise. Eventually, Sheldon confessed that he had caused Trevor's demise because Trevor had asked to be out of his misery. What that meant isn't exactly clear. The exact details of that night remain unclear, but Sheldon was found guilty of first-degree murder and arson. The jury verdict was that Sheldon was guilty, and he was sentenced to 26 years to life in prison for his crimes. On September 9, 2023, the Easton family from Paul, Idaho, was enjoying what should have been a normal camping trip at the Pine Campground in Boise National Forest. Cadence Easton, their 8-year-old twin daughter, was there with her parents, Quinn and Natasha Easton, together with her 7 siblings and her twin sister, London. The family had looked forward to this retreat as a chance to reconnect with each other and have some time away. Early in the morning, just around 5 a.m., tragedy struck. A large tree that had weakened over time suddenly fell on the tent where Cadence, London, and their beloved pet dog, Sybil, were sleeping. The impact was instantly fatal to Cadence and Sybil. A family friend, who was also camping nearby, said he had heard a loud sound and immediately rushed to the scene. Men from the Elmore County Sheriff's Office arrived promptly. Cadence was pronounced dead only shortly after their arrival, despite their best efforts to revive her. The shock and sadness of this event were overwhelming for her parents and the entire family. The tree that fell was found to be a rotting cottonwood, a type of tree that had been weakened due to age and environmental factors. Officials later stated that previous wildfires in the area might also have contributed to the tree's weakened state. Cadence was remembered fondly by everyone who knew her. Described as an exceptional child, she had a cheerful disposition and a warm, constant smile. Her family fondly recalled her deep love for animals and her special bond with their dog, Sybil, who had been curled beside her when the accident occurred. Cadence's bright and eager personality shone through in her schoolwork, and she often preferred the company of adults at family gatherings, showing maturity and intelligence beyond her years. Raised in a Christian home, she was taught to be kind. She was a child who made friends quickly and avoided getting into a fight. In response to the tragedy, a GoFundMe page was created to help the Easton family with funeral and other related expenses. The campaign has since raised over $28,000, showing the community's generosity and support. The Easton family has also expressed their gratitude for the outpouring of support and the heartfelt condolences they've received. Authorities continue to investigate the incident, looking into the effects that past wildfires may have had on the trees. "36-year-old Lisa Schilling, her 12-year-old daughter, Lily Arguello, and a few other family members arrived at Buckhorn Canyon for a relaxing holiday on Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. They were returning to their favorite camping spot, a place they loved as a retreat from city life, after the area had been affected by the Cameron Peak fire 2 years earlier. Annette Vasquez, Lisa's sister-in-law and Lily's aunt, described Buckhorn Canyon as a special place full of memories. She said that the family had spent many summers there, introducing their spouses and raising their children away from the distractions of modern life. For them, the canyon wasn't just a campsite, it was a wonderful part of their family history. Lisa was a 4th grade teacher at Dean Elementary who had plans to transfer to Bear Creek Elementary. Her daughter Lily, who was about to enter the 8th grade, was eagerly waiting for her 13th birthday on July 27th. On Friday, July 15th, during their camping trip, it began to rain, causing the nearby creek to rise a few inches. Although the rain soon stopped, it had already set the stage for a sad turn of events. Vasquez recounted a chilling moment when a loud rumbling sound echoed through the campsite. Looking up the creek, they saw a terrifying sight. A huge wall of trees, rocks, mud, and water rushed towards them with great force. In a flash, the trailer where Lisa, Lily, and their 2 dogs were staying was caught in the flood. The powerful flow of water swept the trailer away, and within moments, it was overwhelmed. Sadly, Lisa, Lily, and their pets drowned as the flood filled the trailer, which was later confirmed to be the cause of their deaths. Around 5 p.m., the Larimer County Sheriff's Office began receiving reports of flooding in the area. By 7:30 p.m., rescuers found Lisa and her daughter Lily just over half a mile from their campsite on Calcite Court. Sadly, their deaths were ruled accidental. The sad event left their family devastated, adding to the deep grief they were already experiencing from their recent losses. Her family and friends have come together to support Lisa's husband during this hard time, even setting up an online fundraiser to help with expenses. As of July 19th, 2022, the GoFundMe page had raised nearly $14,000 out of its $25,000 goal.